All right, men and injuries. A lot of times as men, we try to live life like we're invincible, but I promise you, we're not. The older that we get, we need to realize, we need to start taking better care of ourselves. So, this has been several years back. I was probably in my mid 30s. I would say I'm 39 now. So I was probably 34, 35 when this happened. I was at work, and I was working for a large company that sold electronics, appliances, furniture, all sorts of stuff. Okay, I was a manager at this job, and a customer ordered a adjustable base for a bed. So I put it. It was a queen size, and I loaded it up into their flatbed trailer. And the customer asked me, can you scoot it forward just a little bit more? So I bent down, got my fingers underneath the box, lifted, and when I attempted to lift it, I felt and heard a snap. And the guy next to me that I was working with heard it, and he's like, "What was that? What happened? What happened?" I'm like, "I don't know. Something just happened to my arm. I don't know." So I clenched my elbow, had my arm up like this, and I started seeing stars just everywhere. Started seeing stars, started feeling real lightheaded. I sat down on the concrete, and there was a fence that separated one section of the dock from the loading dock where we loaded up customers. And I put my back against that fence, and I just sat there on the concrete, just feeling like I was gonna pass out. So, and just clenching my arm, man, I was in some severe pain. I went and I sat in the break room, and for about 20 minutes, and the pain started to go away. It was still sore, but what I felt initially, that kind of pain started to kind of subside a little bit. I went back to work. I went back to work, and I worked for another week. And the pain really went away for the most part. My elbow was all welled up with blood. I thought maybe I pulled a muscle or something like that. A typical guy. I'll be all right. I noticed that I couldn't really lift anything heavy. So I'm like, well, maybe I tore something. I kept thinking in the back of my mind, I really should go get this checked out. So I went to upper management, and I said, look, this happened on the job. It's all on camera. You need to set me up to go have it looked at. And they argued with me. "Oh, Mike, you'll be all right. You'll be all right." They didn't want me to go and have it looked at. They didn't want that injury on their report or whatever. Typical job crap that you deal with where an injury is concerned. So I went to a doctor. He looked at it. He's like, "I really don't know what it could be. You really need to have it, scanned and have it looked at." And so they set me up for a MRI, and at the time it sucked because I had the flu. So I'm sitting there in the MRI machine with my arm all extended out, and trying to get an MRI done, and I had the flu at the time, so I was coughing, and you can't cough in one of them machines. You gotta sit still. So finally, after the second time of them trying to get the MRI, everything went good. So doctor brought me to a screen, and he's like, "You need to look at this. The tendon ripped off of the forearm, shot back up and wrapped around the bicep muscle itself. So I completely ripped it off the bone." So doctor told me, the guy looking at the scan, "Hey, you should have had immediate surgery as soon as this happened. Why didn't you take care of this sooner? And I'm like, because I wasn't feeling any pain after about 20 minutes. It was sore, but, just like anything else. He's like, well, that's because when you ripped that off the bone, you tore a bunch of the nerve endings, and that's why you wasn't feeling the pain that you did right when it first happened. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that sucks. He's like, you need surgery, and you need surgery now because that tendon is deteriorating, as we speak. You need surgery, and you need surgery now. So they set me up for the surgery, and I was just waiting to hear from the surgeon as to when it was going to be, waiting to hear from his office. And it was supposed to be on a Wednesday. It ended up being like the next Monday. I called them up. I'm like, well, what's going on, Well, we're still in discussion with your job, their front office. They're trying to, work out a price with us on this surgery. It was expensive, man. You know how it is. So they were trying to work out a deal with them, insurance-wise or whatever. I don't know. And anyway, they ended up scheduling the surgery. So I go in, and they tell me they're going to put me under, and they explain the procedure to me, that they were going to try to grab the tendon that I had left and reattach it if it was long enough. Ended up not being long enough. They told me that if you wake up and you're just stitched up, then we were able to reattach what you had left. If not, we're going to have to graft in from a cadaver, some more tendon and reattach it to your arm. Sure enough, I woke up, I had a sling on. So they had to graft, cadaver tendon into my tendon and then reattach it to the bone. So pretty ugly scar. See if you guys can see it. Kind of L-shaped. So that's the scar that I got left. So is what it is. But nevertheless, I'm able to move it. I'm able to flex it. I'm able to lift. Doctor told me don't ever try to lift, go to the gym and try to, bench press 350 pounds like you used to and things like that, because it's just not going to be good. If you pop it again, you'll be disabled for life. That arm will be out of commission. So, needless to say, I'm very, very careful with my left arm. Thankfully, it wasn't my right arm. I'm right-handed, so which was kind of shocking that it happened on the left arm and not the right. I'm using my right arm for everything. Doctor told me, well, that's just because your right arm you got more tendon strength in your right arm. Your right arm is stronger. The left arm is not as strong, so that's probably why it happened to the left arm. So I had surgery, got out of surgery. I was in a sling for about a week. They wanted that sling off in a week's time, and me start using the arm as much as possible, start getting movement back in it. I couldn't, my arm was constantly, like this. I couldn't extend it. Could not extend it for a long period of time, fully extend it. If I grabbed it with my right hand and pulled it down, it was like going to the gym and working out really hard, and the next day your arms are stiff and you can't extend them all the way. But so they started me on therapy and doing different things, resistance bands, things like that, a lot of twisting motion, because you have two tendons. You have a distal bicep tendon, which is for the twisting motion, turning a doorknob, turning a wrench, things like that. That's the one that I tore. You have another one that is for the flexing, right? So the one I tore is for mainly twisting type motion. And it comes from the shoulder and attaches all the way down to your, about midway on your forearm. So about where that 7 with wings is at, right in about the middle of that is where it attaches. So they went in at my elbow, dug down, reattached it to the bone area right around where that tattoo's at underneath the skin. So, uh, but actually, I don't know how they did it, but there's a graft in there, or they had to graft it in about midway with the donor tendon. Uh, but anyway, yeah, I was doing resistance bands. I was throwing weighted balls at a trampoline angled back at me, throwing those 500 times, just twice a week, 3 times a week, just getting some motion back in it. Couldn't really do a whole lot. I could drive, my arm's already at this position, can't really extend it. I could drive. Um, I could play video games. So, um, but yeah, I luckily something told me, man, you need to call your job and see how much time you have, leave of absence. I had to come back still healing from the injury, of course, because it took too long to completely heal. They had me doing manager crap. I was a manager. I was doing paperwork and inventory type stuff for months and months and months. Couldn't lift nothing. I could drive a forklift. I could do that, unload and load trucks. That really helped with me getting my motion back. The twisting and the turning that steering wheel kind of helped out a little bit. But guys, that was my injury, distal bicep tear. Pretty bad injury. I want you to know if you get hurt on the job, especially, even if it's minor, if you don't think it's much of anything, you really need to report it first of all, because it could turn into something more serious. And then it's better that you say something. That way they know about it, because if you don't say something and then it turns into something major, they can say, well, it's just a pre-existing condition. It didn't happen here on the job. Things like that. So take that into consideration. Let them pay for it. It happened on their job site. Let them take care of it. And always have your witnesses and things like that, because in my situation here, they tried to say, well, why didn't you get help? And I'm like, well, because you guys said one man loading. They had some dumb rules at this job, heavy stuff. They didn't want, we were so busy at the time that they wanted one man to handle his own orders. So I'm like, okay, this thing weighs 400 plus pounds. I'll do it by myself. Yeah, sure. So, it came back to bite them. The whole thing was on camera. So, but yeah, they ended up taking care of it. It took me probably a year and a half to fully recover from this. I was able to lift pretty heavy maybe a year after it happened. I felt like I was careful with it the whole time, but I felt like I could really lift heavy after about a year and a half. And now it's been several years. The arm issues that I have with it, I can lift heavy. If I wanted to go lift 300 pounds in the gym, I could do it. I don't do it because I don't want it to pop again. I don't want to have any issues with it. If I do lift heavy for an extended period of time, it does get really sore. It'll swell up. Anytime winter is coming, I know it. I know it. That thing starts to ache, and sometimes it'll pound. It'll just get really agitated. So not a whole lot of pain or issue with it. A little bit of swelling here and there if I've been using the arm a lot. But guys and ladies, if you feel that there's something wrong, please go and be checked out. Go to the doctor just to be on the safe side. Okay, we're not invincible. We're not the Terminator. We're not RoboCop. We're human. You cut me, I'm gonna bleed. So it's You really need to take care of yourself, especially the older that you get. Your body starts to break down a little bit. We can't do the things that we used to be able to do back in high school and right outside of high school. You're not, you know, you're not invincible. You really need to take care of yourself. So I hope this video, if you are dealing with a bicep tear, don't be down on yourself. These things happen. Do your rehab. Get you a warm towel. They had me do that. Wrap it around it several times a day. Just keep that muscle loose. Keep that area loose. Keep it warm. Warm compresses. Do some things at home. Get you some resistance bands. Start pulling on that tendon. Getting that thing stretched out a little bit. Start working that arm. The more you work it, the faster it's going to come back. Just don't overdo it. So hopefully this helps somebody out there. That was one of my injuries. I've got another one that I need to talk about later. But if you like this video, share it. And click on the bell to the right to be notified of all my future videos, as well as when I go to a live stream answering all your questions on a number of different topics. Tuesdays, 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time is when I do those. Just hope that this helps somebody out, encourages somebody out there that's had this injury, and just take it easy. Let yourself heal, and sooner or later it'll come back. You just got to be patient. So you guys be blessed. Take care of that arm.